He's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California.
To fet you on your birthday in a vulgar display of weakness. That's Donald Trump.
It began, as many American crises do, with a single video. A cell phone clip, shaky, raw, drenched in tension. A group of LAPD officers forcibly removing a man from a makeshift tent under the 101 freeway. He was a veteran. His face, though blurred in the video, bore the silent exhaustion of years spent invisible to the system he once fought for. Within hours, the video had been viewed by millions. And within a day, Los Angeles was once again a city aflame with protest. But the flames weren't just literal. They were symbolic of a deeper rot, of a city long teetering on the edge of collapse, of a state whose reputation for sunshine and tech innovation now stood side by side with tents, fentanyl, and fury. And in the eye of the storm stood two men, Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump. Newsom, sleek and defiant, the Democrat governor of the most populous and wealthy state in the Union. A man who had long battled conservative criticisms of his policies on homelessness, crime, and immigration.
Today's order makes clear that he is not above or beyond constitutional constraints. Constitution sets forth limits.
And Trump, the ever-combative former president, never one to let a political opportunity pass him by, saw in LA's chaos a stage on which to perform his most powerful routine, the prophecy of American decline under Democratic rule.
You have to make sure that you are registered and you are going to vote, because I'm going to take very good care of you. I'm going to take care of our nation. We're in a failing nation, and we're going to bring it back, and we're going to bring it back strong.
The battle lines had been drawn years before, but in the spring of 2025, those lines became front lines. The protests that followed the Skid Row incident were vast, multiracial, and filled with a generation disillusioned by promises unkept. There were chants of no justice, no peace, but also signs that read, Newsom lied, people died, and Trump and Newsom, both are failing us. It was a moment not easily categorized by traditional left-right binaries. Local business owners, once vocal supporters of progressive city leaders, began to appear on conservative talk shows pleading for law and order. Meanwhile, activists accused the state of prioritizing optics over actual policy reform. Police budgets had ballooned even as reform initiatives sputtered. By mid-May, protests had spread from downtown to the wealthier enclaves of West LA. Rodeo Drive saw smashed windows. In Santa Monica, a protest devolved into a standoff as armored police pushed back crowds chanting against both state and federal leadership. From Mar-a-Lago, Trump seized the moment. He posted videos declaring LA a failed liberal city, blaming Newsom directly for the rise in crime, homelessness, and what he called an explosion of woke tyranny. On Truth Social, his words went viral. Los Angeles is what happens when Democrats are left unchecked. Drugs, violence, no borders, no laws. It's a horror movie, directed by Gavin Newsom. Conservative media followed suit. Night after night, Fox News aired segments with titles like The Fall of California and Newsom's Anarchy. But Newsom wasn't silent. He held press conferences amid the ruins of looted buildings and met with local leaders to present his new emergency homelessness response initiative. Flanked by supporters and policy advisors, he outlined a $6.5 billion expansion to the state's Housing First program, which promised to house 45,000 people by year's end. Yet critics, even within his own party, questioned the numbers. After all, California had already spent over $20 billion between 2020 and 2024 on homelessness, yet encampments had only grown.
Rumor that somehow former President Biden was going to federalize her national troop, and she stood there.
The deeper story was one of systemic failure. Housing costs had skyrocketed across the state. Wages stagnated, and federal investment remained scarce. The city's mental health infrastructure was overwhelmed, leaving thousands untreated. And the opioid crisis, especially fentanyl, turned sidewalks into morgues. Interviews with residents painted a portrait of despair. Maria, a single mother in Echo Park, described watching her neighborhood change in 5 years. First, it was just tense, then the needles, then people screaming at night. I don't let my daughter walk alone anymore. Even LAPD officers confessed off-camera to exhaustion and fear. We're not trained to be social workers, one officer said, but that's what we're expected to be. By late May, the national spotlight had fully landed on California. Trump announced a campaign-style rally in Bakersfield, deep in Republican territory, using the unrest in LA as his central theme. At the rally, he thundered, "They say the future of America is California. God help us if that's true." Newsom, meanwhile, toured the protest zones with civic leaders and faith groups. In a now viral moment, he knelt with clergy at the site of a burned-out church in South LA, declaring, "This state will not be defined by those who burn it, nor by those who exploit that fire for political gain." But both men, whether they admitted it or not, were locked in a battle not just for public opinion, but for political legacy. Behind the scenes, their advisors crafted dueling narratives. Team Trump labeled Newsom as the architect of urban decay. Team Newsom painted Trump as an arsonist of democracy. The media ate it up. Cable news divided itself predictably. MSNBC highlighted Newsom's efforts to invest in low-income housing and framed the protests as the cost of overdue change. Fox News focused on looting, crime spikes, and the perceived lawlessness of progressive cities. Yet in the streets, where the battle was most real, the story wasn't so neatly packaged. There was Dante, a 26-year-old activist who had marched every day since the protests began. He wore body armor made from old car mats and carried a homemade sign. "We don't want your promises. We want homes." There was Lydia, 72, a lifelong LA resident who baked food for protesters, even though she disagreed with their tactics. "They're angry. I get it," she said. "But I've lived long enough to know politicians from both parties lie." And there was Elijah, the veteran from the original video. A local journalist eventually found him, living in a shelter, still shaken. He hadn't known the video went viral. "I wasn't trying to make a statement," he said. "I just wanted a place to sleep." By early June, as the protests slowly quieted and media attention shifted elsewhere, a strange stillness fell over Los Angeles. Businesses boarded up their windows permanently. Real estate prices dipped. And for many, a lingering sense remained that something fundamental had cracked. Both Trump and Newsom moved on to other political battles. But LA remained. A city still broken, a city still defiant, a city waiting for answers from leaders too busy fighting each other to hear its cries.